Well, Governor, the state teachers database was hacked, and by a Post-Dispatch reporter. It seems confusing. What do you say to like a logger in Ripley County? What could you tell him about what's going on if he reads it and he doesn't quite understand what happened?
Yeah. Well, again, I got to be a little careful because this is under investigation.
Sure.
So I will speak kind of what I know of at the beginning of it. I think the first question has to be asked, why would you even be doing that? Yeah. Why would anybody, whether it's the media, whether it's the private sector, why would you be trying to get in a system? What was the purpose of that? So I think that's the first question you need to ask. The second thing is if you were to go into it and you've seen there was a opening there, or whatever, however they want to describe it as you got into the system, why would you simply not just says, hey, you got a problem here, you need to fix it? Why would you remove Social Security numbers from the system? And nobody has the right to go do that. You may be going there and see a flaw in it, and I get that, but still I think the question has to be asked, why'd you do it in the first place? What was the motive behind that? And then why would you take anybody's personal information? Nobody has the right to do that. And I think that's probably the biggest, the sticking point to this whole deal. It'd been one thing if you'd went in there and you really was doing it for the right reasons, quote, what they would like to put the spin on it, that, hey, we're just trying to help. Well, why would you take somebody's Social Security number out there if he's really trying to help? What was the purpose for that?
It really becomes a surprise to many folks that the Post-Dispatch is trying to help your administration. That'd be a pig in a poke. Now, I don't know hacking. I'm a simple hillbilly. I can barely work that iPhone. My daughter has to help me with it sometimes. But if there's an investigation, of anything like this, and it comes out maybe a state employee helped them, would you advocate they be prosecuted as well?
Most certainly. If there's anybody involved in this, would. I think what you got to think of, this is against the law to do this. It doesn't matter whether it's the Post-Dispatch or whether it's a private citizen. It's one thing to go in there and see that, but it's one thing to take people's information. The law's pretty clear on that. And it depends what she's going to use that information for. And we don't know that. That investigation's still going on today of how that's going to be. And I don't know who all's involved. That investigation and even whose Social Security numbers. And I'll be honest with you, even if it ever happened, I don't even know that it happened at this point, and we're still working on that. So again, there's an investigation in there of whether this even really did happen the way it said that it happened or whether it didn't. But that's what the investigation's about.
Just an error, and maybe this is just the hick in me, but it just seems a little bit like the folks that overwhelmingly elected you about a year ago, I don't think they elected you for your IT skills. It just feels like there's a hint of elitism in some of this stuff. And maybe it's because you're not what they call Obama, was he a community organizer? Maybe it's because you had a real job or something. And it just feels a little hint in some of those highfalutin ivory towers in St. Louis, a hint of elitism about how they talk about this.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm going to be careful what I say. And I'm no computer expert. I'll be the first to admit that. There's a lot of people out there that are. But here's the one thing I will tell you. Why in the world would the Post-Dispatch, I'll just say them, and I will say some of the other media outlets that all work together in conclusion with what their stories are going to be, why would they not want an investigation? Why would they not want to know the truth and let the people know the truth of what happened? But they pretty well spun the story from day one that it was a right click. Well, trust me, it's much more than a right click, because you got to talk about decoders and all these kind of things that were used. And totally misleading the public, but I don't know if that's anything unusual when you talk about some of those people like that or what they're doing. But again, let the investigation happen and let's see what happens.